Welcome to Sports Tonight on your award-winning sports-loving channels television. We are taking a look at issues surrounding sports in Nigeria, from the NNL to marathons to the National Sports Festival to wheelchair basketball, because the guy we have in the studio has so much love for wheelchair basketball. Bukola Olopade is still here with us. Bukola, you were telling us some of the good things that we saw from the NNL, and I thought that, okay, when the NNL ends, we're now going to have a smooth transition. That's what I wanted.
Austin, if you remember the Congress in January,
Yeah.
I was the #1 advocate of this playoff, the Super 8. I actually invented the Super 8, sold it to the Congress, argued it. It was a tough argument on the floor of the Congress. But luckily, everybody bought into it, voted in support of it, because I wanted something interesting for the sponsors. Because when you market sports, you must ensure you have a constant discussion with your sponsors and all other stakeholders, so that at every given time, what they want must appear organic to the public. You know, so because of that, I advocated the playoff. But something happened. We completed our league, and when we completed the league, we were going to go for the playoff.
Okay.
Until the chairman, a fine gentleman, Chidi of Okinwa, that I have a lot of respect for, pointed it out to us, and some other members of the Congress, club owners, pointed it out that a force majeure had been activated. You know what force majeure is in sports? So I was wondering what this force majeure was. One, it was the date that the MPFL had fixed, which had placed NNL, Bet Niger promoted teams at a disadvantage. But that wasn't the only one. The fact that we were going to have the playoffs almost the same week as the resumption of the MPFL. And in order not to spoil the good work that Shehu Diko and his team that they've done for so many, you must recognize the fact that a lot of good work has been done by Shehu Diko and his team. I'm not here to cast aspersion on the league. No, I think a good job has been done. But in order not to spoil the good job Shehu Diko had done, albeit with the abnormal way the league was concluded, that's another topic for another day.
Yeah.
We felt, since that force majeure had been activated, and the second force majeure, which is CAF, Rangers already had a date.
Right. Yeah.
Globe had a date. And again, I was made to understand that all professional leagues on the continent must come to an end before the new continental season. Those were the things, as the CEO, I was told. All of a sudden, I found myself with my back to the wall. So the suggestion was for the chairman, who is a member of the NFF board, to approach the NFF and explain this and get an approval from the NFF on what to do. In Asaba, you remember that that was posited before the NFF. The NFF, in their wisdom, agreed and permitted the chairman to take it to the floor of the Congress of the Bet Niger National League. That was done. I think they left a caveat, and that the caveat was that after all said and done at your Congress, you bring it back for us to ratify.
That's right.
Ratification, for me, a lot of people are beginning to say it's ambiguous. For me, ratification simply means an approval, you know. But a lot of people have said it was ambiguous. That could have meant maybe we'll look at it again. They had the opportunity to have said to us in Asaba, no way, guys, go play.
Why did you propose 8 teams to be promoted?
That's what I'm saying. There was a force majeure. What were you going to do? You had already told teams that 2 teams from each group will qualify for a playoff.
Yeah.
Are you not going back to tell them? Are you going to go back to tell them the first 4 will be promoted? However, guess what we did? In order to follow the process, it was put before the Congress. 3 options were put before the Congress. Congress was asked to vote for the first 4 teams to be promoted.
Yeah.
Congress was asked to vote for all 8 teams to be promoted. Congress was asked to vote on the Super 8 and press it on the MPFL to push back their dates, and on the president of the NFF, who is also the vice president of CAF, to talk to CAF and explain the situation and obviously that would have helped us. But Congress, in their wisdom, these are fine gentlemen that have come to know. People like Moses Etsu, Moses of Delta State Sports Commission, people like Olisa Chukwu, some very fine gentlemen, and Abdul Sule, my childhood hero, who was a superstar with stationery stores. These are gentlemen, Kira, brilliant men, Dodo, who sat down together, debated all through the night, and picked the option of super. It was Congress. It was due process. Now, why did I resign? Because I know that will be your next question. I had called the president, as I said in my notes that you must have read on social media. I'd called the president and I'd explained that, look, I'm a systems man. And I understand all too well that the NFF are the owners of everybody in football. That I'd been told from the grapevine that a Sheyi Akiwumi-led committee, not the NFF football committee, had sat down and had decided against the 8. Now, the implications, as I explained it to the president and to Sheyi Akiwumi, because I also put a call through to him. The only person I didn't call was my friend and brother, Shehu Diko. I explained to him that, do you understand teams had believed that your ratification simply meant approval, and they've already started preparing for the MPFL, for the LMC League. Teams had sacked players. They had started recruitment for new players. Teams have started, they've created budgets. I know all the 8 teams were getting ready for the Nigerian Premier League. And I explained all of this, but the vibes I got from the 2 of them was that it's not happening. It will be, and I said, if that is the case, because I disagree with you guys on this, I must respect you as the custodians of football in the country. But this is a country where people don't resign when they disagree with the system. Instead, they'll stay inside and start behaving like cankerworm within the rank and file and start destroying things. I'm too principled. So
you resigned?
I resigned on the principle that the Congress had been overruled by the owners of football in the country, and I must respect their decision, but I do not agree with the decision, and I moved on.
You've moved on. But Bukola, tell me, is a 28-team league realistic? In
anything, in any restructuring you're doing in your life, right, the abnormal comes in. What's the essence of stopping the league at week 24? That was unusual. And not relegating anything. Have you forgotten that the contract I signed on behalf of the league for the sponsors, with the sponsors, was that every year 4 teams must come down and 4 teams must go up. Already you have placed me as the signatory to that contract in breach of the sponsor by not relegating at all. The issues are enormous.
I know.
Now, if you now find yourself doing the abnormal of not relegating 4 teams and declaring a champion at week 24 of a 38-week league, why would 28 teams now become a super abnormal to that? That's number 1. Number 2, I'm not the sort of person that creates problem and do not look for solutions. So let's assume we created a problem from the NNL, right? Let's assume we created a problem. But remember, I was the advocate of the playoff. I started it. But Congress had decided, so we created a problem. It was a problem. Of course, on first hearing it, you as an analyst, as a TV pundit, as a broadcaster, will be gobsmacked and angry. That, who are these pranksters? Who are these jokers? But when you look at the reasons behind that position that was taken by Congress, you understand that people did not just sit down and decide that they want to create a problem. So when we created the problem, I also suggested, just as a lot of my colleagues from the Nigerian National League suggested a solution out of it. We said, okay, 24 teams, 28 teams, what's the difference? 4 teams. Why not create an A1